Hello everyone, and welcome to the series of webinars that are dedicated for startups to enable high quality experience for intern hosting startups. And my name is Bērziņš, and today we have two speakers, Professor Gundars Bērziņš. He's Dean of the, yes, hello Gundar. He's Dean of the University of Latvia Faculty of Business and Management and Economics. And he holds a doctorate in management science and is a leading researcher in business strategies. And his passion is strategic thinking, vision. He has practical experiences in private companies. And second speaker is Kārlis Kivlenieks, head of the University of Latvia Business Incubator. Hi, Kārli. And co-founder of blockchain preAccelerator, advisor of the companies, and team member and facilitator of Demola Latvia. So both are very known for students, for the academia here in Latvia, and they are the persons to go for advice. And today we will speak about differences between internships in startups and internships in classical multinational companies, the big companies. And we will speak about the vision of our today's experts. And of course, participants can ask questions too. So what are the differences from the internship perspective in these two types of the companies? So for example, what are the typical tasks given? Or from company perspective, what are the differences in having interns in these small teams and big team companies? Quite often, we speak about meaningful perspective in the startups. So how better communicate this vision, being meaningful, this word being part of something meaningful. So everything about the benefits and challenges having interns in startups from academia and incubator perspective. So let's start. Just generally, if you want to add something about yourself and just with your perspective, what's the difference having the interns in these big companies, the classical settled down ones, and the new startups? So Gundars, probably you will start.
Okay, my perspective on this is, or take on this is following, that in the big companies, it's always also not the same in every company. There are companies who have a clear system of working with candidates for potential jobs, or having those new people in the teams and how they handle it. They have a procedure. Then there are companies who doesn't have the procedure, but they simply take interns in they like to take the interns and they put them in whatever positions they want. And so what I want to say, not big companies are also not the same. They are quite different, with established system and those without established system. But the difference with the startups is that usually they don't have a system. They have a lot of things to do on hand, and they try to manage, put people with very many different jobs, which are coming at the moment, and tasks change a lot. So I would say, if I have to put it on a scale, then from the one end is a structured way, and the other way with the big companies, and the other way with the small startups, on the new startups, there is no structure at all. But of course, life is not so simple. There's always some steps in between. And people who go to startups have to be ready for a more unstructured approach, more, I would say, the way usually it's going to be more different jobs and more challenging jobs. And I would say even for students especially, I would say more interesting things to do, but also more requiring and hard things to do. In the big companies, you can easily do nice consultancy, nice counseling, and with a lot of structured way, with the materials placed. So if you want to have a real, let's say, unstructured little bit hiatic way experience with a lot of potential, startups is the way. If you want to have a controlled environment, the big companies is the way. I would say that way. So it's big scale, and there are startups with different level of structure, and big companies with different level of structure. So that's my take on this.
Thank you, Kārli. Would you agree? And from incubator's perspective and startup perspective, how do you see that?
Yeah, it's definitely true that in a startup, because there is no structure in place, the core team itself usually is doing more things than one. There isn't like, okay, we will have one guy who does only this. There is usually that one person is wearing multiple hats, so he has to do multiple things. So also the intern, when he will come in, he has to be ready to do multiple tasks. And as an intern, you have to be, if you're not ready to be flexible and to control yourself in that kind of like a flexible environment where the structure isn't in place, then maybe for you better would be to start with internship in corporation, because in the startup you will have to be ready also to learn more, I think, in a more fast pace, because nobody will wait on you, and maybe the task that they will give you, you don't know, but they will expect that you will deliver on it. But also from the intern side, what's also one of the difference, for example, if you choose to go for internship in corporation, at the end, even if you didn't maybe do that much meaningful tasks as you would do in startup, in your CV, maybe at the end, this title that you have done, the internship in corporation, looks a bit better, because more people know these companies. And the startup, it's a question if the startup will be successful afterwards, then you will be able to say, yeah, I did my internship there at the beginning, and I helped them to build this company. But at least at the beginning, and I know that other people even suggest that maybe you should do the internship in the corporation, because then you have this written title in your CV that I have done, and I have the experience. For example, in let's say in Google, I did the internship, and then everyone is like, wow, you did the internship in Google, even if the tasks was pretty simple that you did there.
Thank you. And I just want to say that those who are listening right now, the webinar, feel free to ask the questions either in chat or aloud. So, we go listening to your perspective on these differences. Wouldn't be the situation that probably the students will be confused because of this chaotic situation, because of this all the time changing of the, let's say, things in the startup during the internship and so on. So how to create this win-win situation that the students gain maximum out of this internship? What would you say?
Probably the student, when actually it doesn't matter even if he applies for a corporation or for startup, he has to know what he wants to get out of this internship and why he applies exactly for this one. And when he knows that, I think even in unstructured way, at least he keeps in mind his thought that I came here to get this experience doing that, and he will stick to that, I think. At least also from our perspective in the incubator, where we also take interns usually for one semester, then it's easier to work with those interns who who has some kind of purpose why they applied and why they came to us in the first place. And those who didn't, who just applied maybe because the university required for them to do the internship for them, I think it will be more harder to be in this kind of environment when there isn't structure in place how to do things.
Mm-hmm.
I just could add that basically when we talk about motivation, why people go to internships in general, I believe that for young people it's not always clear why they do it. Okay, they want to have experience. That's good. But the thing is that the experience itself not always is the best thing, because probably if you're just looking for experience would not be the best one, because you didn't like something. And you didn't like something because maybe you didn't actually, your expectation for something else. You wanted to have a nice experience, how it is, and you get the real life, which is not always, all the joyful things about the companies we talk about. I would say that students or people who go to internships basically have to have two ideas in mind and two motivations in mind. First, to learn how the processes or things are happening in the companies. Startups would be a good thing to have experience in startups. It would be a good thing to have experience in multinational. It would be a good thing to have a middle-sized companies. And that's a knowledge how things operate in this particular company. But the second thing, which is parallel in all those steps, is to understand the context, how all the business comes together. And that is understanding of environment and understanding of the business models and why this thing works and why this thing doesn't work, and in all the chain of the company. So first you understand the big picture, which is a context, and then you understand particular knowledge. That's two motivations people should go to when they want to go to startups. And that's, if with these things in mind, understand how things work, and in this particular business field or industry they are operating, how the industry works. And that's a context understanding, big picture of particular industry. And second is I'm learning exactly what is the jobs and the processes in this particular company. And if they combine these two things together, that's a real experience and real knowledge which can be brought further for next things and next jobs to be done. So that's my take on it.
Thank you. Thank you. And probably that means that these startup company CEOs, they need to explain a bit about this big picture for students so that they see what and where they will do, and then just go for tasks, what you will do. So what else is something that is important for a startup company to explain for an intern? How do you think, in order to have this win-win situation? So that they really will be at the beginning prepared for this internship.
It's basically manage expectations. So, and the management of expectations is very clear. The first orientation when the person comes, that's when the expectations are managed and explained. And the best would be that also the particular job descriptions and communication processes have to be put in place. So then it's very productive. And then, of course, at the end, with expectations, job processes comes the deliverable at the end. What will be the final result? And the result also have to be, result of internship should be communicated. What's expected from the intern because we always talk about what's expected from the company, but what's expected from the intern and by the company. And that's potential job offer, for example. It can be potential job done and or report made. And if it's report, it's report. If it's a job. If it's some kind of KPIs, list of KPIs to be achieved, and it's list of KPIs. So basically, you manage expectations, you manage deliverable at the end, and manage the process. So if that is done in a good way in the beginning, in the first few hours of interview, I think then it makes life much easier for the intern and the company itself.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Kārli, would you like to add something? Probably about, I don't know if the startup who is recently opened and just they are in an initial stage, if they have a job descriptions, or probably you can comment on the tasks that are classically given for interns in the startups.
Well, yeah, I will tell from our experience in the incubator. Previously, we didn't make clear job descriptions for interns. Usually, yeah, the interns found us, and then we, after the interview with the possible intern, we thought of what could be the task that we will give for him, and then we just, if we accepted him, that then we communicated with him what will be tasks. And now, last year on December, we decided that let's try to create actual like positions on which the possible interns can apply. And I think it was a bit better approach, because then also the intern from the beginning could see, okay, in which will be the main area. We still maybe gave him other tasks that wasn't written in this job description, because the times are changing, and these day-to-day jobs, yeah, somebody has to do it. So maybe we will give him also something else that wasn't written in the job description, but at least at the beginning he knows for what he's applying and what will be the main things that he will do. From this communication part, I think in the startup, it's also important that the intern, when he comes to the interview or after the interview, when he's accepted, that he knows the roadmap of the startup. So he knows what the startup wants to accomplish, because comparing to like corporations, they already are established. Maybe this daily rhythm is a bit slower. In a startup, everything is moving faster, so also the deadlines that you have to meet. And I think for the intern, it's important to know these roadmaps that they want to achieve. So he knows, okay, he actually has to, the tasks that are given him is meaningful, and he has to deliver them, because if he doesn't do that, then maybe the startup doesn't accomplish what's written on the roadmap. And from this expectation side, I think good part is that the CEO or whoever is taking the intern on the startup, that they are giving them some kind of possible options, what could be after the intern, that because it would be, I think, bad experience for the intern if he is expecting that he can get a job in a certain position in the startup, but at the end, maybe the startup even didn't consider that from the beginning. So that should be communicated from the beginning, that the intern knows, okay, if I do the tasks well, if I show myself good enough, that I have the possibility to get the paid job afterwards in this position.
Mm-hmm. So you are saying even if the company is new and still in the establishment process and so on, that this job description, internship description at the beginning would be very good in order to understand each side, what is expected from the intern.
Yeah, at least we wrote what could be the main things that he will have to do. We wrote what the intern can expect from us, what we will provide for him. The basic background of the company, what we are doing. So I think it's a bit better. And I think the startup, if he's taking the intern, and he should have something in mind why they are taking the intern, so he can write the job description.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I didn't want just to clarify. I didn't say that job description. The most was task. I would say task description. The job description is for the particular also employee, but in this case would be task description. And with one more addition, which comes from job description, it's the structure inside the company. Who to report, who is the director, to whom to report, and what's area of responsibility, level of knowledge required for this particular job. You know, it's very clear, very important that it's clear, and the person see that, okay, it's required that you know, for example, program, and then it turns out to be that the person doesn't have clue about programming. So something like that. So both sides are very clear on expectations on the, let's say, level of knowledge for this particular period of time. So, for example, I know there are several people who had, you know, basically it was required to have extensive knowledge of Excel. And then it turns out to be that the person has only the minor knowledge in how to build, let's say, sophisticated spreadsheets, for example. And that's very important that it's communicated very clearly, and then the gaps of knowledge are clear in the beginning of the internship.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and quite often when we speak about these different companies, we speak that in startup there's a small team, probably 1-2 people could be the case that they are there. And in big companies, it's already, you know, structure and more people, bigger team, and the environment already is everything like in the company, the corporate, and so on. So how do you see this working in the startup team as an intern in a small team? So what is the benefits and challenges to be intern in a small team?
As always in the small teams, the interpersonal relations are much more important than in the big team. I would say that, and it's easier probably to get to know if the person is very good in communication. So, and get to know people. And I would say you can get more inside knowledge than in a big company. In a big company, you have more formal relationships and more formal distance. In the small teams, you have less formal distance. So it depends on the person and depends on the company culture. I would say that way. In the startups, very open, usually, open, goal-oriented, unstructured way, and people generally who goes to startups are a little different than people who go to corporations. And so I would say hands-on knowledge in people management, people systems. It's easier in startups, and you get more to know people and the job. In the corporations, you get to know more the job, and I would say less people. At least that's my experience. So to go over formal job barriers in a big company, it's much more difficult. You have a good communication with your direct supervisor, usually, and with colleagues right around you. You could have it, but everybody is usually busy with their own jobs. it's not easy to talk to other parts of the company. And basically, you know your job position inside your company. Okay, you have orientation, and that's more or less it. In the small company, basically, you can know all the process in the company, in the startup. You can know all the process, all the people in one day, if it's not a big startup. You know all of them, you know what they do, and in 1 week, 2 weeks, you know who is doing what, how it's happening, how the communication basically works, because you work together with them. And a big company is different. Yeah, formal barriers are much more there. Mm-hmm. That's at least my experience with these two things.
Mm-hmm. Kārlis, would you like to add?
Yeah, I think in the big company, you even, at least from my experience, you even don't meet some people from other departments. So you will not know everyone in the company. The CEO for sure will not know that the intern named Jans, for example, exists even in this corporation. And then in the opposite is in a startup. Usually there is no department in place, so the team is much smaller. Everyone knows everyone, what he's doing and when he joined the company. But yeah, maybe actually that is the challenge with this communication. The intern in the startup team really has to fit as a personality, because if he's not fitting in this environment, if he doesn't find any connection with other people on the team, it will be much harder for him to actually get some kind of benefit and enjoy this internship. Because in the startups, usually everyone is open-minded, friendly with everyone, and if there is one person who is like outsider, it doesn't help neither for the startup and for the intern. In the corporation, yeah, you just or in bigger company, you just come to your internship. Even if you don't like someone from your department or from the structure in which you're working, it doesn't affect you that much, because people usually don't do outside things from the work together in corporations. In the startups, usually they go somewhere even outside the working environment.
Mm-hmm. And one more thing probably that is very important is that the interns part of them are millennials. And of course there are different opinions. Are the millennials different or not, the young generation? But quite often they need this explanation that the work that you are doing, it is meaningful, that it's really something that matters very, very much. So how would you agree that in startups that work that you are doing is more meaningful? And how startups, if yes, how startups should communicate, or should they communicate that to the students, so in order to have it much more bigger involvement, understanding that the things that you are doing, they are more valuable than for big companies that sometimes, just sometimes, could be like a checklist, you know, just quick work and that's all. How do you think about that?
Then we have to understand what the meaningful basically is. And, what did you mean by the meaningful?
That work that you are doing, it matters very much, and the company is in much more bigger need to use your work, so that it really, you create something that most probably will be used by the company in their development.
Okay. It could be that then I agree that in startups it could be much more meaningful, because in general in the corporations, interns are not supposed, they're not meant to bring huge additional value to the company. It's more like potential job seeking offer, or it's also could be that it's more like social responsibility of the company. So they see it as a service to the society more than additional value added to the particular business processes. Medium-sized companies is a little different. If you look on the medium-sized companies, they more work like startups. From my experience here in Latvia, is that medium-sized companies and small companies, which are normal operating businesses, they are looking from also that the internship brings value to the company, and they use this knowledge for the business purposes in the same way than in startups. So in this case, the size of the corporation is basically I would say, differentiating factor. And then it's also a differentiating factor if you look on the, let's say, science fields or the areas of competence of the intern. For example, if you look on the people with specific knowledge, like in chemistry, physics, engineering, that's a little different there, or in programming, or in IT sector. So if the person has very particular knowledge in these fields, or in our case, in accounting, for example, then companies expect that they could help in whatever, for example, research processes in the particular company, because they bring knowledge to the company as well. So if to give like overview is that it depends on the size of the company, A. B is it depends on the let's say particular level of knowledge of the intern, especially if it's research based, some kind of field of science based approach, and company needs it, then it could be the big value. And the third is it's not this. Yeah, I would say size actually of the companies is very important, and how needy the companies are for the particular position. It could be meaningful in all spectrum, but we have the motivation why company in general takes intern. I would say it would be the biggest difference. If the company, basically company can, with their intention, sets the meaningfulness and involvement. So it's important that the company knows why they take intern. And it could be it could be meaningful, and also could be just, we are like a teaching mechanism. Then it's not meaningful because they are teaching intern something new. But it could be vice versa, that they are learning from the intern. So, but that depends on the company who are taking in the interns.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Kārli. How do you think? Is it more meaningful?
Yeah, it's from the company perspective, it's more meaningful. Probably more meaningful tasks will be given from these small teams, either it's startup or these just small companies. In the corporations, usually the task that they give for the intern is not, there is no big impact on their business results, because also the responsibility for the intern, I think, is a bit lower in the corporation. If you go to the startup or smaller company, the intern should be, he has to understand that the responsibility he's taking is a bit bigger if he wants to do these meaningful tasks, because the company is expecting that he will deliver the result, and how it should be communicated. I think one is at the beginning, they say that, okay, we want to accomplish these results, and you are working particularly in this field. So these are the things we want to accomplish. So the things we give for you is needed for us to meet these results. And then also during the internship, I know usually the startups have these weekly meetings where they go through the things they have done during the week. So the intern probably will see that the task that he did and all the things that he did during the week or during the months actually had some kind of impact on the overall result of the startup or of this small team. So he will have this either sense of pride if he did these tasks, and if he didn't maybe do, then maybe he will feel a bit ashamed because the team sees that he didn't do, and then maybe he will be more motivated to deliver in the next week. Yeah, I think like this. One thing I wanted to add about this meaningful and the young generation, I think at least from those people which I have spoke, some of them still are looking if the internship will be paid or not. And I think that's like completely wrong criteria how you should select the internship, because if you want to get paid, you can just go and take a basic job. In internship, first you will not be paid a lot anyway, so I think it would be better if you choose the internship where you will learn more and get more hands-on experience.
Okay, and we have a question here in the chat. So from Anna Louise. So what would be downsides of a smaller team in this case? So far it seems startups are more motivating apart from money. So what would be these challenges and downsides to be part of the smaller team in internship?
That you're not ready for it. You're not ready to actually do the things that are required from you. I think in the startup, nobody will like babysit babysit you, because if, let's say, during this 1 month you didn't do anything and you create more problems than benefit for the team, then you will be let go from your internship. That could be the downside, that the intern himself is not ready to be in this unstructured but fast-moving environment.
Yeah, I would say that the challenge is again, management of expectations already said. But the second thing is that to get along with the people. In small teams is much more, if it's not, the chemistry is not working there, then it would be, you know, not pleasant for all the teams, you know? all the time of the internship, I would say that way. It's important that this chemistry works in the beginning. So. So that's the challenge. In a big company, it's not so. In a big company, it's not so. How to say? Okay, you do your job, that's it. But in small companies, you're given the task and you have to deliver, and everybody else is depending on also your job done. And then so. They expect something, you expect something, and there is a mismatch of expectation, then it's very quickly can get uncomfortable. So that's a risk.
Yeah. I have heard that there are some startups that was case in Greece where they were even organizing like this 1 week test of this match, if that works, this relationships and the chemistry between intern and the startup team, and only then decide, come for internship, but let's test for a week how it goes between us. But of course, 1 week, it's quite a lot of time, and it's always a question if you are dedicated to from both sides to have this test option.
Yeah, and but as I said, the management of expectations is one of the most things, because it can be easily that both parts expect something completely different. And if you find out when it's too late, then there could be a struggle, you know. And both expectations are probably legit and good and everything all right. Simply that the problem is that they're different. And it's nothing wrong that the expectations are different, because basically internship is voluntary thing, what you do. So from both parties, it's voluntary. And it's very difficult to fire a volunteer with a person in a job description. It's easy, you know. They come to the job and they get paid for it. If you don't get paid, let's say in this case, you don't get paid, you learn, and then you expect something else, let's say, and it's very difficult. It could be very difficult if the expectations are not right and something expects something completely different. So.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And this is just a kind of last call. If there are some other questions, you can again write in the chat or ask, or last call for speakers. If there's something else that you would like to add and I didn't ask about these internships in the startups that you want to outline as very important for both sides.
I just want to say that if you plan your learning experience as a new person, in general, the idea is that you should plan experience in different areas. As I said, to get the competence, you have to have experience in startups and understand the processes and the industry and the models, how it works in startups. It's good that you have an internship in some small and medium-sized companies, which are not startups. Then you have experience in corporations. And third thing is you have maybe experience in some kind of, I don't know, NGOs, for example. And then also in the state companies. And you know that that's the choices. Maybe you cannot do all of them, but if you can figure out at least 3 different areas of internship during the study process. If you talk about study process, why you study, while you study, I think that would bring this more understanding that the world is not the same in every case. You learn the differences in different places, and that's basically the biggest, I would say, takeaway in the study process, that you have learned different, how the world operates differently. And in each case, you will learn something different. And this, and the processes and the environment and the context. So, and that's the biggest gain for the particular person. So, thank you.
Okay, I see the thumbs up from Baiba Šavriņa. Thank you. So, Kārli, what is that you would like to add?
It will be like my suggestion, similar as now Gundars said about these different places that you have to choose the internship. I think in general, the students should be willing to take as much internships as possible during these study years, because yeah, I don't know why, but still for some students they are not so open for the internships. They want to get the job as quickly as possible, but I liked it was one CEO of Latvian company, and he said if you want to work in one particular industry, let's say, then take the smallest opportunity or smallest job that you can get in this company. And I think the internship actually is a good place to start, because if you at the end you see that actually you don't like this industry or you don't like this company, then you just change your internship, and then during these study years you can already check multiple companies, maybe multiple industries, and when you will graduate, you will know in which direction you want to go.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much for today's speakers, for Dean of our faculty, Gundars Bērziņš, and head of our business incubator, Kārlis Kivlenieks. And we will be happy to ask you for the next webinars, as it is very, very important to make this as much as possible win-win situation, both for the interns who are looking for experience and knowledge, and for the startups who are new established companies, very challenging and with a big need of support and help of different kind of resources and new talents. So thank you very much, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.